Well, hello everybody. Anthony here and Steph, of course, joining you all for another sunny episode of the Single Parents Podcast. This is the podcast for anybody whose life may has turned out a little less than traditional. We're just kicking it, we're kind of a mess right now, to be honest, because I think both of us may have stayed out a little too late being social last night. So I don't even really know what's going on, so I apologize.
We may have practiced what we preached a little too hard last night.
Yeah, because we talked about like how to go out, how to be social, how to do that, and I think I just I went from 0 to 100 a little too crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I was able to kind of go deep undercover last night and go check out Steph at her place of employment.
Live in action.
I was able to sneak in. I was able to see, all the whole undercover boss thing. I was like an undercover customer. She had no idea I was there. It wasn't super obvious. She didn't talk to me at all.
Mm-mm.
So I was like, all right, let me see what Steph's bartending skills are all about. And she's pretty good. She makes a mean old fashioned. I think that's what I had.
Yeah, till we ran out of oranges.
Yeah. I got like double cherries in mine, which I thought was pretty good. It was pretty good.
We had to get a little creative for the rest of the night, but
yeah, it was nice seeing you in action. Actually, it was really nice because you were talking to this random dude who was sitting next to me, who basically sounded like he to be honest, maybe he'll listen to the show. If you are, dude, please take this advice. But it sounds like he needs to break up with his girlfriend.
Honestly, it's not a dump him, it's a dump her. Honestly, it's funny because people always ask me, they're like, oh, do you there's like always like the trope of like the bartender's your therapist or whatever.
Right.
And it honestly doesn't happen that often. But last night, like this poor guy, he's just like telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, I said, dude, everything you've said to me has been just a major red flag.
Lots of red flags.
And then I did end up passing him off onto Anthony.
I tried to walk him through each red flag. Because basically this guy, if I remember correctly, again, I was enjoying some beverages, so memories might be a little hazy, but I'm pretty sure I remember. Basically, he has this girlfriend with a 17-year-old kid and a 2-year-old kid.
Yeah.
She's technically still legally married, but he's dating this girl, and she
still lives with her
technically her husband. I was going to say her ex, but I mean maybe they're ex relationally, but legally it's still her husband, and they've been living together, I think, for like he said 5 years, 3 years. It's been a while. It's been a while to the point where
they've been separated for like 5 years, but they've been living together the whole time.
And then have the math. I was trying to get him to do the math because like they have a 2-year-old daughter. So I'm like, you don't see what went on in that time when they were separated. Like something happened for a kid to pop up, dude. You know how that works. And
I felt really bad for the guy. I really did, because it was, we all have our moments of being real Delulu, and he's deep in it right now.
Oh, boy.
And hopefully, I don't know, he only had a couple drinks as far as I saw, so hopefully he was sober enough to like take in what both of us said to him.
I hope so.
Because I felt he was such a nice dude, and I was like, this is not a cool situation.
But anyway, so all that to say, it was nice seeing Steph in her bartender therapist mode. Next time though, we should have we need to make like business cards for the show.
Yeah.
So next time you could be like, dude, do I have a podcast for you?
Right.
And he could just check the show out and get all of the advice he needs to break up with somebody he probably shouldn't be dating. At least for right now.
I agree.
At least for right now. So
yeah, maybe take some space. Let her figure out what she's doing.
Maybe let her actually move out and start a new life away from the person who I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, it was an interesting one. Yeah.
So that was cool. Yeah. Seeing you in bartending action. Hopefully you had at least a little bit of fun last night. I know.
I had a lot of fun.
Okay, good. Good.
It's always more fun to be on the other side of the bar, but I did have we had a really fun crowd last night, even though it wasn't super busy.
No, it wasn't.
It was like the vibes were really good. I had a lot of my friend Bree was there, and you were there, and your friend that I met last night, and the vibes were really good.
It was good.
That always makes for a good shift.
It was good times all around. So, yeah, that's what we're stepping into this episode from last night. So, again, if we're just kind of all over the place and seem like we're like zombies right now, we're just living our best life out here, people.
Yes,
and
the sun's out.
The sun is out.
You
The
gotta
birds
go
are
have
flying.
fun when the sun's out.
It's nice. It's nice. But hopefully you all are doing well too. Maybe you didn't go out and rage last night like we did, but maybe you were able to do something to put a little smile on your face. And if not, it's cool. Like life's crazy. Life can be hard. It's hard often, but just remember you got your friends here thinking about you, supporting you, loving you from across the screen. So I hope you all truly are doing well. Before we get into today's episode, just a few things to ask you to do. The first episode is the first thing, rather. I told you this episode is going to be all over the place. The first thing you can do, if you'd be so inclined to do so, is just share the podcast. Share the podcast with a friend, with a family member, with the guy next to you at the bar who really needs to break up with his girlfriend but just needs some more insight into how to do that. Pass the podcast along so we can get more voices on the show and keep building the community that way. Then also maybe consider subscribing to the podcast yourself so you never miss an episode in the future. Spotify, YouTube, all the places. Just turn on automatic downloads and you will be up to date in everything that we do going forward. And then last but not least, make sure that just search yourself, search your soul, search your heart, search your mind, and then come to a really honest conclusion when it comes to this show as to like, do I like the show? Do I think it's legit? Do I at least think it's all right? And if that conclusion leads you to have the answer yes, then maybe consider leaving a review of the show. 5 stars, the highest rating possible on your favorite platform. So that way the algorithms out there know the show is legit and it passes it along to more people. All right. You ready to keep talking, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it.
Something to think about.
All right. So actually, this first conversation we're gonna have actually just came from the wonderful mind of Steph here, and she was thinking it might be kind of cool to talk a little bit about things that we before pre-parent Steph and pre-parent Anthony back in the day, and maybe when we were a little younger and we're a little bit more able to do stuff like stay out till way too late and bounce back the next day. Yeah. Back in those glorious golden days, when we were that young and we look forward to being parents, maybe we had some things that we were like, you know what, when it comes to being a parent, one day I'm going to be like this and I'm not going to do this and my kid will never do this and I'm going to be this kind of parent. And now that was before, but now we're here, we're parents, and reality has hit, and this is how it really is. So yeah, kind of talking about some things that we expected, maybe said were going to happen, and see if they actually came to be now that we are parents.
Yeah.
So do you want to go first? Do you have anything that comes to mind right away?
I think like the first thing I think of is I remember, being a kid, a teenager, whatever, and you like ask your parents to do something and they're like, no. And you're like, well, why? And you get like, because I said so, or because I said no. And I remember I always was like, I'm never going to do that. Like, it's so annoying. And if I'm going to tell my kid no, I'm going to have a reason for it. But it's so funny because I find myself all the time saying things to Olive that I'm like, oh my God, like that was my mother's voice that just came out of me. I'm like,
interesting.
I'll say, she'll ask me something and I'll be like, no, like we're not doing that. And she's like, well, why? And I'm like, because I said that we're not doing it because I said so. And she's like, ugh. And I'm like, oh, every time I say it, I'm like,
you cringe to yourself.
But it's sometimes you really, and you get it now. Like, I think you have a lot more understanding for your parents when you become a parent. Because sometimes I don't feel like explaining why we're not going to do something. Especially if it's like, oh, can we go get ice cream? And I'm like, no, not today. Like, and it's like, oh, it's so funny because I think every time I do it, I laugh a little bit. And I'm like, I always said I'd never use because I said so, and I do all the time.
Does she call you out when you say that? Because my kids will say, what do they say? They'll they'll say like, well, because isn't an answer or something like that.
Oh, not too bad.
Yeah.
Usually she'll like, sometimes she'll give me a little pushback and be like,
Yeah.
well, why though? Like, why though? And I'm like, because like, we're not having ice cream. Like, just
Yeah.
stop asking. We're not doing it. But I always just get a little chuckle out of that. Like, I remember specifically as a teenager being like, I'm never going to do this that my parents do. And I'm never going to do this that my parents do. And now I find myself like the older Olive's getting, doing a lot of those things.
Do you think, do you notice that a lot of those things are like habits that you picked up from your parents that you just had like instilled in you,
It's
whether
just like
you knew
in the
it or
back
not?
of your mind.
Yeah.
Some of them probably could be. And I
Okay.
think like especially like the specific sayings. And I can't remember what I said the other day, but it was like word for word something that my mom used to say to me. And I literally was like, oh my God, like what is even going on? But I think some of it does come down to like, maybe it is habit, maybe it is like a learned behavior, but I think some of it really is like, sometimes you are just like, I don't have to explain every single decision
Right.
I make to a tiny human. The important ones, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will explain. Sometimes I'll be like, no, you know what? Like, we already had dessert another day. But sometimes you really are just like, I don't want to explain this to you. And so you're getting because I said so. And that's what you're getting.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I think for me, when I was thinking about this, I don't think it comes down to like I had like a couple particular things that I said, this is what I'm going to do, this is not what I'm going to do. And if I did, then there are things that I am like doing. Like I knew like I didn't want to like discipline my kids in a certain way, and I don't. And
Yeah.
I always wanted to be like open and have trust with my kids, and I do. So like I kind of maintain that. But I think looking back, a lot of it can be attributed to like maybe stuff when it comes to like gender roles and that whole thing, and my perception of what does it look like to, number one, be a man and to be a dad and to be that particular type of person in the lives of my kids. So like, for example, my dad, awesome guy, but he's the typical type of man who can go and like rebuild a car from scratch, and he can build a deck no problem, and he can fix anything in the house, and he's just like the typical like the man goes and does all that housework type stuff. And for me, I don't have to be ashamed. I'm literally the opposite of that. Like, you ask me to build a deck, I'm gonna be like, I'll Google reviews of people who can
I'll
do it.
find you a good carpenter.
I'll find you some stuff. I will. I'll put on a good podcast while somebody else builds it, so they have something to listen to while they do it. Don't know how to fix engines and cars and stuff like that. But like I've always kind of like been that like not that cliche like type of man that maybe society says like you're supposed to be as a man. I've always been, but like I guess maybe like I thought when I was younger, like I need to figure out how to be that type of man, how to be that type of dad, because that's just what I'm supposed to do. Especially back then when I thought like, obviously things changed when I expected to like be married and to fulfill that role in the house, and my wife would fulfill this certain role in the house. So I need to, again, be in the garage tinkering while she's inside cooking and stuff like that. I guess like I got like those type of weird social norms instilled in me, but now it's obviously not even close to like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like me trying to I guess have confidence in myself, like as a man and as a dad who can say like, yeah, maybe I don't know how to like fix the pipes under the sink and do all that stuff, but like I know how to hang out with my kids and make them feel loved and seen and heard. Not saying that you can't do both, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that that's a really interesting point, and I think I kind of see it from like the opposite perspective too, because obviously, I think, especially as a single parent, you're often not falling into those like gender norms. Like I'm not a housewife and a stay-at-home mom. Like I'm not obviously doing that because I have to work and support my child. And I think that, but actually, and this isn't, I guess when I was growing up, I always was like, oh, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like I want to, have that like typical white picket fence, the marriage and the babies and and then as I got older, I realized like, this is not for me. Like this isn't actually what I want. But I think something really cool about that is Olive gets to see like, as a woman, she can be self-sufficient and she can, learn to fix things. Like I live in a house by myself, and if something breaks, I mean, the first person I call is my dad, but I will try to figure it out myself first. But I think it's really cool, raising a daughter and having her see that like, if she does grow up and want, to be a stay-at-home mom and like that's the life she wants for herself, that's cool. But she also gets to see like, okay, well, my mom, oh God, sorry, I'm so scared of bees. My mom, worked full time and she supported our house and she could do all of the things and still had time for us to have fun together and have a life. And so I think it's really cool looking at it from that aspect. I guess it doesn't fall into like your typical American gender norm to do your life this way. But I think it's really cool that she gets to see that and gets to decide for herself what kind of life she wants instead of just being like, well, every girl grows up with a baby doll and things, and like, so I think it's cool. And it's kind of, opposite of yours.
Yeah.
I mean, but the same, just male, female gender norms. Both of us are kind of like not doing the normal thing. And I think it's an interesting way for our kids to grow up because they're not seeing the standard, 2-parent household. And, I remember growing up, like, that's all you would see on TV. Like, so that was just like, that was it. Like, you didn't really think about any other ways to live. So I think it's an interesting way for our kids to grow up and just see life a little differently.
Yeah, because I think, like, you're right. Like, even, like, socially, like, on media and stuff growing up, it would be the typical, again, from my perspective as a man, the thing would be like, well, the dad, he goes and he works and then he comes home and he will sit down on the couch and like watch sports or something with the beer. And then the wife will call like everybody for dinner. And then maybe they'll talk a little bit at dinner, how your day was. But then dad has to like go get ready for work the next day. And like it always just portrayed the dad as kind of there, like technically doing stuff, but not like emotionally present, not like fully like engaged because his role was just, paying the bills. And so as long as he worked hard, he deserved to come sit on the couch and watch the game and drink a beer and stuff like that. And like I've always thought that was for a little, I guess I even like when I was younger thought that was like a little weird and didn't want to like be that type of dad. But I was thinking about this because I saw like TikTok skits about this particular thing. But also I knew like the whole concept of like mom's home with the kids do something like they're not supposed to, they get in trouble. And the mom being like, well, I'm just going to call your dad and he's going to come home. Yes. Yeah. And so like dad will come home from work and the kid will be in the room, kid will get in trouble and stuff like that. And I was always just like, I don't want to be that type of dynamic in the house. Like I don't want my kids to like have like, I guess like a fear of me like ever coming home.
Right.
Like I'm not saying I don't want to like give my kids structure and discipline and stuff like that, but like I don't want my role in their life to be like, well, you're in trouble, so just wait till dad gets home type thing. I was just that was a little weird, but I like even back then I was like, I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah, I totally get that too. And you don't really think about like that standard. I really haven't even thought about that, I guess, just from the like role reversal as a mom. Like you do see that all the time. Like it's always like, well, wait till your dad gets home or I'm gonna call your dad and tell him what you did. And it's like that, I could see why that would suck, like being the one who always has to be the one doling out the punishments and you're always the bad guy. That would be awful. That sounds terrible. So,
and like now that, especially that I have girls, like it might be maybe different if I had a son, because then I don't know, like I think it's just gender norms in general and what is and isn't supposed to be. That can be a whole nother conversation. But like for me, having girls in particular, I just don't want them and never wanted them to like have that perception of me as like the prominent man in their life, somebody who they had to like, oh man, when he gets home he's going to be so mad and all these type of things, and waiting to get punished from like, I just didn't want that to even, because I just think again that's a little weird in general to I guess instill in young girls early that you should think it's normal to fear a man coming home from work. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'm not really making any sense, but like,
no, I totally get what you're saying.
I just I guess ultimately what I'm I guess thankful for, but also like it takes a lot of practice to live into, is the fact that again, growing up I had all of these I guess external pressures on like what type of man and what type of dad I needed to be, and there's a lot of like assumptions in that, and for a while I felt like maybe not guilty, but I felt like I was doing stuff wrong because I wasn't living into those typical assumptions and stereotypes that people would put on dads, or what a dad is supposed to be, or even what a man is supposed to be. Like I would like even when I was married, like I would like feel ashamed almost when like something did happen with like our car or something,
right?
And she would have to like call her dad or call somebody else to like come help, and I would just like stand there and like, oh well, thanks for coming over, like that, like hurt the pride and hurt the ego, because like he didn't nobody ever really said anything, but again society would be like, well, you're the man of the house, Anthony, you're supposed to be in this one.
Why
you shouldn't call another man to come do this. And so I still like have to work through stuff like that, but I think hopefully my thing is like long term, me just showing up and being the type of dad I can be for my girls, hopefully that'll benefit them in the long run.
Yeah, I think so, honestly. And it's going to give them a, like I said, like a different perspective. And it's, they don't have to specifically look for a man that's going to fall into those gender norms. Like I think will feel more free just to like date who they want to date. And like, you know, like I feel like it's changed so much as far as like dating and all of these things, because it's not so much like a woman looking for someone to take care of her anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I think that changes a lot. And like your girls are growing up with like seeing that like it's okay to be, I don't know if soft is the right word, but like to be a softer dad and not be the enforcer all the time, and to be able to have fun and have an emotional connection with your kids. And they can see that like building those genuine like emotional relationships, how important that is. And it's like, if you know how to change the oil on your car is not that big of a deal, you know? Like,
yeah, because I again, maybe I'm just confessing things that I just find weird, because like at the end of the day, like, yeah, maybe I don't know how to swap out an engine, but like I'm hoping that the things that I am teaching my girls, like how to be trustworthy, how to be emotionally intelligent, how to have conversations, how to like work through things, are things that, because I think like at the end of the day, you're right, when they get older and start dating and stuff, hopefully those are the things they're going to really strive for, and all the other stuff is secondary.
Kind of qualities, yeah.
Because like if you have a guy who, again, not saying you can't do both and there's anything wrong with this, but like if you have a guy who can swap out an engine but doesn't know how to like express his emotions,
it has no emotional intelligence,
then at the end of the day, is that like, but like again, culture and society, like they would say like, well, that is like what a man is supposed to do. Like it's weird if he's able to. And then like I see like TikToks on stuff. I guess I'm like on like nice guy TikTok, I guess, my algorithm. But like I'll see videos of like girls being like, oh my gosh, bare minimum, because he gave me one compliment, or he asked me a question, or he did this, and I'm just like, my girls, hopefully they're gonna grow up and be like, if you can't like actually talk about how your day was and communicate and work the stuff, then sorry, I'm not putting up with bare minimum.
Yeah, we're teaching our kids to expect emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to come high Harvard level emotional intelligence to talk to my girls. That's for sure. I mean, hopefully that's what they're gonna want. But yeah, so anyways, that's kind of our thoughts, I guess, when it comes to that. But we want to hear from you. This would be a good one to hear from you all about. What are some things that you said you would or wouldn't do as a parent before you were a parent that maybe now, maybe you have stuck to them. Maybe you kind of like realize, like, actually, I kind of folded when it came to XYZ. Let us know. Do all the things. Social media. We're all across the platforms. But you can also use the email, thesingleparentspodcast@gmail.com. Share your stories. Write in. That's thesingleparentspodcast@gmail.com.
Something to relate to.
Okay, so one thing that I brought up that I thought we should talk about is this is definitely specific to co-parenting, but wanted to kind of just chat about some of the things that we really appreciate about co-parenting and the realities of co-parenting, and maybe some of the things that are harder than we expected to be when we first initially got into, getting separated from our child's other parent and coming into this new reality. Maybe some of the things that are better than we thought they would be, some of the things that are harder than we thought they would be, some of the things that bother us. So I don't know if you want to start off first.
Okay.
Tell me what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I'm trying to think. I guess when we split from each other, me and the girls' mom, the girls were pretty young, maybe like 1 or 2 years old. So like really, like I don't have a whole lot of memory, I guess, of like doing the parenting thing in any other way but co-parenting. So I guess this is just what I know. And for the most part, I think for us, it's been going like really, really well, because I think I kind of talked about this on the podcast before. Like I just decided early on that I didn't want to have a relationship with her that was anywhere close to like toxic or drama or anything like that. Like ill wills, none of that. Like, again, not saying that we don't do things that annoy each other or what have you, but I was just like, I'm not going to have a relationship with her that is going to bring extra stress and chaos into my life, and then obviously into my girls' life, because they're also going to be seeing how we relate to each other and how we speak about each other, and even how like we talk to each other. Yeah. So I think making that decision early on was really, really good, because it just mentally put me in a space to know that, hey, like whatever it is that you have to like work it out as like adults, and try to be friendly about it for the sake of not even just your kids, but your own like self and your own mental health,
your sanity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I having that mentality has really worked for me and for us, to where like the things that like I enjoy about co-parenting is the fact that even though technically, yes, I am like a single parent, I know I do have like very specific help that I can reach out to whenever something comes up. And I know, because we have like a friendship, like let's work together type of relationship, I don't have to stress about the fact that everything fully has to come on me. And I know this is, people have talked about before on the show, and we kind of debated like, well, then are you technically a single parent if you're in co-parenting, because of the fact that you can reach out and get for help about certain things, versus like what we call only parents, who do have to figure out everything 100% themselves. And we talked about that and kind of gave our definitions with that. But I do think it is helpful. So for example, my girls are super into gymnastics, and last week, I think there's like a little plastic piece on the back of my younger daughter Max's leotard that broke. So the little straps in the back of her gymnastics suit, or whatever it's called, broke. Yeah. So I got it right the first time. Why did I second guess myself? It broke. And so the teacher at the gymnastics place just had to use like a safety pin to put it together. And I was like, okay, well, before class next week, we'll get you a new one, so you don't have to worry about this. But of course, because it's me, I totally forgot about that the second we got home, up until it was time for them to go to gymnastics like the next week, an hour or two before. I was like, oh crap. So I was talking to the girls' mom about something else, and I remembered, and I was like, oh shoot, do you have safety pins? And she's like, why? And I was like, because Maddox's leotard broke, and we need to safety pin it before gymnastics. And she was just like, or I could just go buy a new leotard. Like, why don't? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess
that works.
Works too. So she went.
What a solution.
But again, like it was nice because I get that type of like partnership
right.
because we have basically at the end of the day, it's nice knowing that somebody else has the same ultimate goal as I do when it comes to my kids, which is my kids' own best well-being. So not saying my friends don't care, my parents don't care, my family doesn't care about my kids, but I know at the end of the day there's at least one other person who like to the extreme wants what's best for my kids as much as I do, being their mom. And so like even like little stuff like that, me having a goofy suggestion to safety pin a leotard, in her head, she's like, no, this is my daughter. We're doing what's best for my daughter. And my daughter best in her situation is just go buying a new one. So she doesn't show up to class looking like a bum with safety pins holding herself together. And so, and I also ultimately, that's just one example of like it's nice. It's nice at least knowing, like I said, somebody else to the extreme levels that I do cares about my kids. Right. And we can work together to make sure they get what they need.
Yeah. I think that's definitely one of the pros for sure. And I think I'm going to come in with some of the cons.
Okay.
So I think my biggest thing is constantly feeling like you're missing out on things. And I think is that the reality? Probably not. Like I'm getting equally as much time with my daughter as her dad is.
Okay.
But it's like the little things and the little things that like you look forward to as a parent, right? Like Olive lost her first tooth at her dad's house. And so it was kind of like cool for him, obviously. Like he should also get to experience that. Sure. But it's also just kind of like that bittersweet, like it's almost like a jealousy. And I can admit that it's like I get jealous when like stuff like that happens when she's with her dad. Right. Not that he doesn't deserve to also experience that, but I also want to be the one that experiences it. And I'm sure probably if you asked him, he probably feels the same way about, stuff like that. But it's just the little things, and it's like the little milestones that when they're with your co-parent and you get like a text that's like, hey, Olive lost her first tooth. Like she was really excited. The tooth fairy came, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's so exciting. But really, I'm like, oh man, like, I wanted to get to like experience that. And then that little turd, she lost like her first 4 teeth all at her dad's house. And I'm like, it's just because I want you to do it here.
Oh man.
But yeah, I think that that's really, for me, I think the biggest thing because like I said, it's not necessarily like a healthy mindset to have, but you can't help but just like feel a little sad or jealous when you do miss out on like those kind of like core moments. And so I think that's the hardest part of co-parenting for me. And I guess it wasn't surprising to me that it's hard, but sometimes it really does like kind of like knock me off my feet when I'm like, dang, like I'm really, really bummed about that. Like I'm really bummed that I didn't get to experience that with her. And so I think that for me is the hardest part because we love our kids so much and we want to get to do everything with them. And I want to spend every single second with Olive, but that's not our reality. And her dad also, wants to get to spend all of this time with her. And so I think that sometimes it does surprise me, like, and I wouldn't say it bothers me, but like emotionally, it'll hit me hard sometimes. And I'm like, dang it, like this really sucks. And I would say for me, that's definitely like the biggest downside of co-parenting is just missing out on things that you would love to get to experience with your kids.
Yeah, it was funny. I was grocery shopping before I came here, and Maddox, my youngest, called me, and she was just talking about random stuff while I was checking out. But she said, I don't remember exactly what she said. She said like something. Oh, I asked her, hey, are you ready to go back to school tomorrow? Because it's Sunday right now, so they obviously have school tomorrow. And I think she said something to the effect of like, oh, well, apparently I forgot that we even have school or something like that tomorrow. Something to where like she used a phrase that I never heard her use before, that she just like learned the word apparently or whatever it is.
I love that.
And I was just like, what? Like, I didn't even
Where
know
did
you
this
knew
come
that word.
from?
What did you?
Yeah.
And so, like, in a small way, and like for that second, I kind of got a little bit about that. I was like, oh, like you're like growing up.
Yeah.
And there's aspects about yourself that you're growing into, and you're learning all these things that is happening away from me, to where you're learning the word apparently, and
Yeah.
now
And
you're
just
getting
using
bigger
it
and
casually.
just using it. I'm like, when did you even learn that word? All right, so for the video viewers of the podcast, we have moved location. Sorry for that. It's just hot outside.
It is surprisingly
it's getting
hot.
toasty, and
Yeah.
I my camera kept shutting off because I think the camera's like, bro, get me out of this heat.
That's enough.
Get me out of this heat. So we're inside on Steph's couch. For the audio listeners, the last couple minutes of me explaining all that was completely pointless to you, because you would have known anyway, so I
Sounds
apologize.
the same. Maybe you can't hear
yeah.
the birds chirping anymore.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
And maybe there's no wind.
Yeah.
'Cause there's
Me
no wind
being scared every
in the
couple
house
seconds
of
by a bee.
bees. So yeah, co-parenting. So anyways, like it's weird. It's weird missing out on big things. Like holidays are also another hard thing.
I have a really hard time with like Christmas Eve specifically,
Oh,
which
okay.
is so weird. Like Christmas morning I love, but like Christmas Eve, Olive's whole life up until her dad and I obviously started splitting holidays, Christmas Eve was like our night. Like we would like do jammies and like hot chocolate and watch a Christmas movie. And so it was kind of like a tradition. And so now when I don't have her on Christmas Eve, I'm like so bummed out. Like I seriously find myself those years like not even like wanting, like I'm not like excited about Christmas. Like I'm not really looking forward to it. This last year, my friend Bree did come over and
Aw.
we like hung out and watched movies
Yeah.
together and stuff, because I was like, I really like just don't want to sit at home alone on Christmas
Yeah.
Eve. And I think my dad was working, so it was like we weren't even doing any like family stuff on Christmas Eve. So it's just that I like those are the things that I think are really, really hard for me.
Another one that's, I don't want to say it's maybe not hard, but something that's just weird for me is the fact that when the girls are off for the week that they're off with their moms, they're living obviously this whole like life over there, which includes like other people and different friendships that I have no idea about. So there'll be times like we'll be in the store and just randos come up and start talking to my kids.
You're like,
And I'm just standing there like, I'm assuming you know them through like what their mom does and stuff like that, but I have no idea who you are. But I guess like a new pet peeve I have though is when that situation happens, which is cool. Like if you can come say hi if you know them,
right.
but when that person or those people like act like I don't exist and don't acknowledge
don't,
me,
like,
or at least just
introduce
say hi, or
themselves.
even like that, like even just like oh hi, like whatever, like that annoys me.
Yeah, that is super annoying.
Annoys me a lot
Yeah.
because it's just like I see, because I'm just like a very chill guy, very sociable. Like I don't really like. I guess I can understand how that could be awkward for people if like they see me just as the ex. Like that's the girl's dad, but that's her ex.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they don't do it. But I'm just like, you can say hi to me. Like I'm not gonna
Like
punch you in the
you're
face.
making it more weird by not saying hi.
Yeah. So I actually had like we talked about that. Me and the girls and mom talked a little bit about that. I was just like just know, like if your friends or whoever like see the girls and want to say hi, they can, but like they can say hi, at least acknowledge me, please.
Right. Yeah, that's so awkward. I hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do totally get what you're saying about like them having a whole life, because I think mentally, obviously, like I think about Olive and like I think about like, oh, I hope she's having a good time, but I don't ever really think about like I've never really thought about that, I guess, like the different people she knows who I have like don't know at all. And like I've said before, her dad's remarried, so she'll talk about like her stepmom's like nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh yeah, like my cousins. And I'm like, it is so weird to like, it's so weird to think about like my kid having cousins that like I do not know. Like, isn't that it's so weird to think about?
Yes.
So yeah, it is kind of I guess you don't really think about like the just like intricacies of like what their life looks like when they're with the other parent.
Especially I'm noticing as they get older and they are like more social and they can have like play dates and their own lives basically, because I just usually when I pick them up, like they don't do it like right at once because it's always like, oh, how was your time? They're like, good, let's go to the store so you can buy me something. But then like throughout the week they'll do that, like, oh, we went and hung out with so and so, and I'm like, oh, who's that? And they were like, well, we went and did this. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that you guys like knew about that. And so like it's just weird. And I know like especially as they get older, and for us our kids are young, so like when they become teenagers and have more autonomy, like they're just gonna be doing a lot of stuff away from us that we'll just have to find out about, I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I don't love that part of it. But I think like you said before, it is really nice knowing that when, as much as like we miss them when they're with their other parent, it is really nice knowing that like they are with someone who genuinely cares about them just as much as we do, and is as happy to have them there as we are when they're with us. So that is the upside, just knowing like I never would be like bitter about like her time that she spends with her dad. I might get jealous if I miss out on stuff, but I would never be bitter because it is like she is very lucky to have so many people that genuinely love and care about her so much. So that is the upside, is always knowing like they are just as loved where they are as they are when they're with you.
Definitely. And then I think we talked about this before a little bit, but the double-edged sword, which is like the time away when they are off with the other parents, the, I guess, nice aspect of like, okay, like I know while they're with their mom, I can plan this, I can go on this trip, or I can just take a nap without hearing the word dad 50 million trillion times, which is nice. But the flip side of that is that when that time comes, I get, sad boy hours. I start missing them and start wishing that they were back with me. Because I just like, I have not a hard time, but like I realize that I like the time they're with me, obviously, but because when they're with me, we're super, super busy. Like we're literally always going 100 miles an hour. But I found for myself, like in the moment, I get stressed about that and maybe annoyed and be like, oh, we're always driving somewhere in gymnastics and school and blah, blah, blah. But I kind of like that because when it's just me at my house by myself, then I'm kind of like, well, now, like, it's so weird. Literally, like, 1 week with the girls, we're going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And then the next week when it's just me, it literally is like the opposite extreme of like,
you don't really have
what do I do? Like, I don't have to, I can work. Like, but after work, like, I can watch Netflix, I can take a nap. And it's just like the extreme of it.
It is like extremely like night and day difference in like what your day looks like when they're with you versus when they're with their other parent.
Like even like when what time I have to wake up, like when I don't have the girls, I can sleep in later because I don't have to wake up and find school outfits and lunch and make sure they're up. Like I could literally because I work from home, I could like sleep until like a few minutes when I need to log on my computer, and it's nice. But when I have the girls, I wake up probably like an hour. I get up like an hour before I have to start my shift because I got so much stuff to do. So it's weird. I guess I never like thought about that as far as like mentally, like mental health wise. Maybe that's something I need to pay attention to, because there probably is something that I need to be aware of when it comes to those extremes of like going 100 miles an hour to going to 0 miles an hour, like a light switch.
Right.
Maybe not the healthiest thing in the world, but I guess should probably be aware of that, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
I just realized that.
We're really having a lot of realizations today.
Yeah.
We're having our Kylie Jenner moment.
Yes.
This is the year of realizing things.
Oh man, I need help. So yeah, those are the big things that I can think of when it comes to co-parenting. it's fun, I guess.
Best way to describe it is bittersweet. That's
Bittersweet.
the best way I
Yes.
can describe it.
I agree.
Yes.
Something to be encouraged by.
All right, and then lastly, I'm just gonna let's see. I've just been, I guess, contemplating a lot this past week because again, this was my week when the girls are with their mom, so I have had all that extra time to sit and to think and to get introspective. Is that a word? Introspective.
Yeah.
There we go. We got there. And I've been thinking a lot about like contentment and how to like truly find contentment in life, whether it's as a single parent, like sure, maybe for the context of the show, but just like in general, what does it look like to truly just be cool with who you are, where you're at in life, what's up? Because I actually, you know what? I know what brought a lot of this up. So like in our community, we had something pretty tragic happen, a couple of days ago, and I won't like share the whole story because it's not really like my story to like tell. And it kind of annoys me when people take like tragedies and big stuff like that affect
like,
real
use it for
families
content.
and use it for content
Yeah.
and actually even just make it about themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you can be bummed about that, but like,
I mean, yeah, like when something like that happens, it obviously like affects everyone. Everyone's going to have feelings about it, but
yeah.
it's definitely like not bringing it in and being like, well, I had a really tragic day the other like, no, I didn't.
Yeah, like it
you
could have
know?
been. But like, so it's still though. So basically, I guess for a little context, like somebody just ended up losing their life in a pretty horrific way in our community. And so actually I saw you the day that happened. We were kind of
that
talking a
afternoon.
little bit about
Yeah.
it and talking about the delicate nature of life and how at an instant you could wake up, you can say, I'm going to work, or I'm going to go take the girls to gymnastics, or I'm going to do this for dinner. And then like a light switch, something can change in a crazy, crazy way. And so like, I've been thinking a lot about that for, in the context of contentment of like, how does it look like, even for me, to slow down and cherish those aspects of life that we have right now, because the fact that tomorrow is not guaranteed, or even like the next hour is not guaranteed. And so like for myself, if I'm always like going and striving and like I need to do this and next year I want to be here and we need to figure out how to be this, then not saying like setting those goals and having ambitions bad, obviously, but how do I balance that with cherishing the time and the moment that I have right now and being cool with that, to where even if the girls aren't with me and they're at their mom's house, I can still even just look at myself and be like, you know what, like in this moment, even if it's just me on my couch, like I can be cool with that, because this moment, even if it is just me on my couch, is a gift or whatever. It is precious, and something I don't want to take for granted or assume that I'll get it tomorrow, because you might just not. And so thinking a lot about true contentment and how to be cool with that. And then even if you want to throw it in the context of being a single parent, we talked before, like it can be hard and difficult, just managing a lot of that. And so there is this big temptation in our space to never really be content, because you think you need somebody else in your life, or your life didn't turn out the way that you expected, and so you're just trying to get out of this chapter and into this next chapter, because things can be hard, or maybe socially you have a lot of pressure on you to have your family look a certain way and things like that. And so anyways, all that set up, do you have any thoughts when it comes to contentment, I guess?
I think it's kind of what you said, like just slowing down every once in a while. And I find myself doing that, where it's like you're going, and you're like, maybe you're getting frustrated or you're stressed or whatever it may be. And every once in a while I will just like remind myself, I'm like, I think about it in the context of like how fast Olive is growing up, and like these are, as cliche as it is, like these are the moments that like we're gonna miss when they get older. And so sometimes even just like letting yourself enjoy, like when you are on those long car rides, like putting on music that you guys all like and like singing along together. Obviously, Taylor Swift is a popular one in my car,
right.
but just actually like enjoying those moments. And I think I've talked about too, you know, like in the summer, Olive and I like to eat outside together, and she likes to have dance parties in the backyard. And sometimes you do like, you're in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, well, you know, let's sit down, let's eat dinner, but then like we got to get inside because you have to start getting ready for bed or whatever. And every once in a while I'm just like, okay, is it the end of the world if I let myself sit here and actively enjoy this instead of thinking about my to-do list or thinking like, okay, well, if I, you know, it's 6:00 right now, if we get inside by 6:30, we can get her in the bath. And you know what I mean? Like you're always constantly like in the context of a parent thinking about all the things, because there are so many things throughout the day, especially when your kids are younger, that you're like have to get done. But I think those are really like my favorite moments when we just are just hanging out, sitting on our back patio, the sun's out. We're, you know, I taught myself to barbecue last summer, which is, you know, look at me go.
Fancy.
But you know, like barbecuing our dinner and like eating dinner together. And we always put music on. And those are the moments that I like really sit back and remind myself, like, I'm going to just be here with Olive. I put my phone away. Like we listen to music. I don't get on my phone. And I think that's a big thing too, is like we constantly are in this state of like always having something distracting us, whether it's like mindlessly scrolling on social media or you're getting text or you're checking your emails or whatever it may be. But that's a big thing that I've been doing, especially when I'm spending time with Olive. If we're like having dinner together or we're watching a movie together or, you know, whatever it may be, I've been really like phone goes away.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I've noticed like I'll take those moments away from myself because it's just the habit. Like you sit down. You're not, was that a sneeze?
That was a cough.
Oh, I was like, that was the weirdest sneeze I've ever heard in my life. That makes sense because it wasn't. Anyway, I like have noticed that I will take those moments away from myself because it's just the habit to like pick your phone up and I'm like, and then I'm taking that moment away from her too. I'm taking my attention away from her because it's not even like I'm like bored or don't want to be doing what I'm doing. It's just like that habit of like you grab your phone, you start scrolling. So that has been, I think, the biggest thing that's helped me be a little bit more content and truly enjoy the time that I'm spending is really trying to be present more. And I think the more that you are actively present, the more content you are automatically.
I like that. That's good. I guess maybe it was last night. I had just some free time chilling, and it was like sun was going down. It was feeling pretty good outside. Cleaned up my back porch, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just like grab like a drink out of my fridge and just sit on my porch and just sit.
Yeah.
And first I just found like it was honestly a little bit hard because like you were saying, I had my phone, and so I could easily get on like Twitter or check sports scores or TikTok or whatever, and then the next thing you know, like I'm just I'm in the trenches going through something, and you know, there's all these crazy. Then you go to like Twitter's trending thing, and there's always something crazy going on in the world and World War III and blah 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 blah, and then you start
Twitter
stressing.
gives me the worst anxiety.
Oh man! So I was like, no, you're gonna just put the phone away, just chill, sip on your drink, and just kind of just be. And it was good, it was nice, but it was just weird. The fact that like I had to like basically like make it happen. Like it wasn't an easy natural thing.
Right.
You think just sitting there sipping on like a drink and just chilling sounds the
like,
easiest thing in the world, but no, because like you said, there's I could have got and done more laundry. I could have gone and hung out with somebody. I could have got on my phone again. And so the ability to actually slow down and just truly be in these moments, or not even just that, but like what I found, put my phone away, just chilling. Mine starts to go just as my brain becomes its own like For You page, and like all these different things going. So I'm like, oh man, on Monday I have a meeting for work and blah, blah. And so I had to like stop myself several times and be like, Anthony, is it Monday yet? and I'm like having a conversation in my house.
I do
So
the same
please
thing.
don't judge me. I'm not insane. I promise. Well, maybe a little bit, but in my head, I'd be like, Anthony, is it Monday yet? And I'd be like, no, it's Saturday. And then I have to be like, okay, so why are you thinking about
That
a
is
Monday
not a Saturday
meeting
problem.
on Saturday?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. So I don't know. I think it's good and it's important, but it definitely takes work,
Yeah.
I would say, especially in today's day and age when
Yeah.
so much stuff is buying for your attention.
I think it's funny that you did that yesterday because I did the exact same thing. Like,
Nice.
like, what are the chances on the same day? Because
Wow.
I had to work. I worked my full-time job in the morning and I got off in the afternoon. And then I did have plans to meet up with my friends, but they were like running some errands. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go home. You guys can come pick me up, whatever. And when I got home, I like immediately sat down and like got on my phone. And then I was like, you know what? Like, it's a beautiful day outside. Like, I'm so excited that the sun's finally out. It's not freezing cold. So I did the same thing. I grabbed a drink from my fridge. I went outside, sat in my like chair on my patio, and I just put my phone down and I just was like, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna like enjoy for a minute. And it really, I think the biggest thing and something that I've actively been working on is I think the only way to truly be content with your life is to know yourself and be content with yourself.
Ooh, nice.
So like if you can't ever just like be by yourself with your thoughts, which not my favorite thing to do.
True.
I don't love to just sit and think all of my thoughts sometimes because it's like you said, like you have just like a million, and especially I think if you are someone who has anxiety,
Oh yeah.
it's just that constant stream of like thinking so many things, and most of it's not even relevant or matters, or like you said, like it's not even a problem for today. But sometimes like it is really hard just to sit and just like enjoy your own company, almost like just a lot. And it's like what we talked about. I don't remember if it was the last episode or the episode before, but you brought up like going to the movies by yourself. And like, I think that like truly in order to be content with your life and be happy with what you have and what you're doing, you have to be content with yourself.
Yeah.
Which is easier said than done, but
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to truly be content with yourself. But I truly believe that if you are content with yourself, then it just unlocks so many like other doors for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Like maybe you do have certain goals and ambitions that you want to do. Because again, planning stuff and setting standards and aspirations for yourself is good. But if you're content with yourself where you are like right now, then you'll give yourself the grace and the patience to get to those next things, because you know that next milestone you're trying to get to is something you want to get to, but it doesn't define you if it takes you a little while to get there, or even if it just doesn't work out, because then you can be like, well, I tried and I gave it my best go, but my whole identity and my whole sense of self-worth isn't wrapped up in I have to get to this next milestone or what have you. Or even relationally, if you are looking to get into a relationship, if you truly know yourself and have that true value within yourself, then it's going to help not only know what type of relationship you want to get into, but it's going to help the other person really know what type of partner they need to be in your life, because they're not going to know you unless you know you, and you can communicate that, and you can bring that true healthy sense of self to the relationship, so that way the other person can pour into that and all these different things. 100%. So I don't know. That's like I said, though, it sounds nice. It's very TikTokable. Like people would love those type of thoughts on TikTok, but living it out can be tricky.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, I think, is being able to actively, and I think it does. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and you have to be willing to do that work and to remind yourself like, hey, listen, I love TikTok as much as anyone, but I have already been scrolling on TikTok for 30 minutes, or it's probably a lot longer than that, but but like to kind of check yourself and be like, hey, am I doing this to actively like avoid being with myself and thinking my own thoughts, or am I doing this because I want to? And I think it's like the term I always hear is like doom scrolling. And so it's like you get into this like cycle of like, okay, I'm done. I did the things I need to do. Now I'm just going to sit here and not think any thoughts and just watch videos for 3 hours till I go to bed or whatever. But I think it's easier said than done, but really checking yourself and being like, okay, I need to put my phone away. I need to go for a walk, or even like put music on and just like enjoy. You don't have to sit in silence and just think, but
yeah,
I think it is like you have to be willing to check yourself and be like, okay, I'm doing it again. I'm back on my phone. I'm doing things to avoid having that, like those moments of just like being with myself. So
definitely. I was listening to a creator yesterday. He said something that's really stuck with me that I'll share. He said, nothing really matters, but everything is important. And he was talking about, as a creator, because he was talking about like how to like be a successful content creator and stuff like that. He was like, the pressure as like a creator, especially if like you do it full time as your job, is that there's always going to be like red alerts, like your video didn't upload, or maybe something messed up in the audio, or maybe you didn't get as many views as you thought. And so everything's going to seem like the end of the world. Like, oh my gosh, the video cut out early. What's going to happen? And he was telling a story of like, that happened to him, and he had like his whole merch launch riding on this video to go out, and the video cut off way too early, so it was kind of messed up. And so he was like having a panic attack. It was like, oh, I messed up. And so he's like, then I stopped and I just fixed the video. I put it back out, and like everything was good. Everything was fine. Nobody even really noticed. But so he was talking about the fact that in life, those big extreme red alerts are going to come, and they're going to seem like, oh, all my attention needs to go to this, or the stress and the anxiety. But at the end of the day, I think we said this on the show before, like at the end of the day, most of the things that we sit and stress and overthink about and can't just be content with are really not things that are that big of a deal, that most people are even going to notice, that it's usually always going to work itself out.
Right.
And so, but he was like, yeah, so nothing really matters. So like the fact that my video didn't upload properly really didn't matter at the end of the day, but everything's like important to the fact that like, you don't want to just become like aloof to everything. Like, oh, nothing matters whatsoever. So he's like, no, like do stuff well, put care and stuff into it. But at the end of the day, you can only do the best that you can, and the outcome's going to be the outcome. And again, we said this on the show, like in 10 years and 100 years, like nobody's going to remember the fact that your video messed up for a moment. So like put things into perspective. And that's really helped me, because like, again, my big thing when it comes to my own contentment is just always thinking I need to go, I need to do this and all this stuff. But just to say, you know what, like, do I really need to go do that thing now? Is it a red alert that I need to go work on that now? No. Okay, cool. Let me just chill and just remember that at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Wise words.
Yeah. So that was like one of those doom scrolling sessions that you're talking about. So
good
sometimes
does come out of it.
You get some gold in that amongst all the other crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Amongst the like fake like couple videos where like they're like pranking each other or fighting or something like that, and they're so fake, because it's like, first of all, they act like they can't see the camera like right there.
Right.
And, like, it's on the tripod. It's sitting
like
right there.
It's literally sitting
so,
right there.
So like this was super planned out. The worst though are the comments, because so many people, this makes me scared for society. So many people in the comments believe that it's real, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she had reacted like that or whatever. And I'm just like,
you're like, well, yeah, it was scripted. I do feel like it's so funny, because like, especially I feel like with TikTok, the comment section can be so good, or it can really make you lose your faith in humanity. Like there's really no in between. Like it's like you're like, oh my god, this is so funny. Like everyone is hilarious. Look at all of us. Like, or you get like a really wholesome one, and everyone's like, it's makes you feel good about people. And then there's like the polar opposite of like, either people are being really shitty, or you're just like, oh my god, like, are people this dumb?
Yeah, that's why I can't do Facebook anymore.
I can't do Facebook.
Is horrible for that, especially like a lot of like the AI images going on.
Like,
and
think
people
it's
think
real.
it's real. I'm like, oh, this is so sad.
Honestly, this maybe isn't a topic for today, but the whole AI thing freaks me out. I think it's gonna be bad, and I'm like putting on my tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
But like it's not a good thing, and they should have never created it.
You know what? I want to hear more about that, and you all need to. This is a perfect segue because the next episode we're doing a mimosa episode where we're just gonna drink and we're just gonna talk.
gonna
We
chat.
don't really have anything like structured like we did for this episode. For this next episode, I think that's episode 30. Oh yeah, episode 30. I just realized that. So for episode 30, we're gonna drink and we're just gonna let whatever comes out
Maybe
out.
I'll tell you why I'm so scared of AI.
There you go. If that's not going to get you to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, then I don't know what's going to do it. So with that, though, we're going to go actually work on the next episode right now. You guys will. We're going to go make some drinks and we're going to see what happens. But for you all, just make sure you subscribe, stay tuned so you can stay up to date on everything that comes out from us in the future. Because with that's going to bring us to an end of the episode for today. We got through it. It was rough waters. We were all over the place.
We really had a really
this
hard
was
time
the hardest
today.
episode we've had to
We had
produce.
camera
Like, oh
problems.
my
We
gosh!
had-
But
yeah.
we made it, people. We made it because, I guess it's kind of on brand because, we
Yeah.
always say. We're just real people doing this thing. We're not, anything fancy. So I
know
guess
it seems like we're perfect, but
obviously, I mean, look at
Clearly-
this face. This is the face
clearly,
of perfection
we
right
are
here, people.
perfect. Sometimes we're not, though.
No, definitely not. But thank you for hanging out with us despite all of our flaws. We really do appreciate it, and we hope to see you next time. So until next time, you all out there, just stay beautiful.
Bye.
Bye.